Global Indian Network. Print, TV, events, podcasts. Find out more at globalindianseries.com.
Welcome back to the Global Indian Podcast, home to the greatest conversations and the official platform for people of Indian origin. Because yes, let's face it, we are everywhere. Now, every single week, we plunge into the human experience behind our perceptions of identity, take a second look at the countries we now call home, and tackle the big conversations. Well, this week we continue our voyage, having a look at the wonderful world of burlesque, and understanding more about the sacred journey between sensuality, sexuality, and what's it like to be a South Asian performer within this incredible artistic field. I'm joined today by Shireen Aston, who was kindly introduced to us by a former guest of ours, Armand, where she guides us through this incredible art, but more importantly poses the biggest social issues that we should all be considering because of the deeper questions that are brought forward. As always, I hope you enjoy this incredible discussion. If you too would like to be involved in these 50 Shades of Brown discussions, well, it could be easier. Simply come to the website. It's www.globalindianseries.com. A massive thank you to all our dear supporters and sponsors, many of which you'll hear from soon.
Hi, my name is Divya and I'm co-founder of the Global Indian Podcast. Before you get to today's show, I've got a quick favour to ask. If you've been enjoying our conversations, I'd love if you could take just 1 minute to leave us a review on the platform that you're listening to us on and share our work to friends and family. It helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is the primary way that we grow. Thanks for your continued support.
Hi, my name is Nestor Alfred, CEO of St. Lucia Citizenship by Investment. Think freedom. What comes to mind? Freedom to explore, to travel to any destination for work or play? Or is it freedom of expression? Being surrounded by the globally minded, those who care for society and environment. Every year, people from around the world apply for St. Lucian citizenship because they realize that real freedom is based on choice. Discover more about St. Lucian citizenship and how it's helping global Indians achieve more.
My name is Chitra Stern and I am a proud Global Indian Ambassador and CEO of Martignal Resorts and Martignal Residences. We pride ourselves on the journeys that define a community, and our developments bring people together. Did you know that over 70,000 people just like us call Portugal home? The Global Indian journey has brought people together in a meaningful way, and on behalf of all of us at Martignal, we want to thank you for joining us in these remarkable conversations. We look forward to seeing you here in Lisbon post-COVID. Have a great day.
And just move. Get up and just move. Get up and just move. Get up and just move.
So I'm Shireen Ashton. I'm a burlesque performer under the stage name of Cherie Bebe. So I perform burlesque around the UK. I'm based in the Northwest in Manchester. I produce 2 cabaret and burlesque shows there, and I'm also an actress as well. I trained in acting, I trained in theatre, and yeah, that's me. I'm an all-round performer.
Well, what's it like to be you? Because most people have a perception of what burlesque is. And to be honest, for me, it was this incredible road of discovery, because when we spoke, you said, right, and there's so much more to burlesque than meets the eye. So run our audience who aren't acquainted with this art form a bit more.
Yeah, so, well, I'll talk about my history first. I trained from the age of 14. I went to a place called Oldham Theatre Workshop. It's quite well renowned because quite a few people have come from there who have gone to do really well. And that really gave me sort of my grounding in theatre and the performing arts in a way. I did that from being 14 to 18, and then I was signed to my first acting agent. So a lot of the work I was then doing was for it was auditioning, it was more for screen, it was for TV, for film, for commercials, and I really missed being on stage. I just missed performing live. I mean, I love working on film, I love working on TV, but I think just on stage when you get that live audience, there's nothing quite like it. So I was doing dance classes to keep fit in different styles. I was doing pole dancing, which is, we had this conversation on the phone. It is incredibly hard. Just the skill that goes into it is incredible. And one of the girls there, actually, she said, "Oh, I've signed up to do this burlesque course." Now I knew a little bit about burlesque. I knew obviously about Dita Von Teese and a couple of other people, like say Gypsy Rose Lee, who's she's very iconic. And I thought, oh, do you know what, this sounds interesting. And I did the course. It was for 6 weeks, and it wasn't really going into the history of burlesque. It was more just learning dance routines to songs, say like Christina Aguilera and, you know, a few kind of old school burlesque songs, but it was more kind of a modern take on burlesque. And I just started researching it more, and I really fell in love with the art form and what it stands for, just the history of it. And really with burlesque, anything kind of goes, and it has revived a lot from obviously in the 1920s and even before, when it was obviously in its heyday. It's really come on again in the modern day.
So for most people, when you hear burlesque, they think of, as you rightly said, the Christina Aguilera, these people getting together, and it's about the art from the dance, right? And then the penultimate aspect is somebody's there naked. But you're saying that it's actually very much more revealing about the whole social anxieties that people go through, that whole part of cutting through and telling people some of the big social ills that we kind of go into. Run us through that side, because how did we take this art form of a dance into something that was a movement for almost the middle class of the UK, through to telling people actually there's a lot more to life that we need to understand?
Yeah, absolutely. And with burlesque, I mean, as I was telling you when we spoke earlier this week, the word burlesque actually comes from an Italian word to mock and parody. So when burlesque started, a lot of the performers, even before the striptease element came into it, they were mocking social and political situations, things that were going on. Burlesque and cabaret, it has been a lot of the time for the more working class people, because they maybe couldn't afford to go to things like the ballet and the opera. So, cabaret's always kind of mocked, not really mocked in a way. They've done parodies of the opera, of Shakespeare and working class people. They'd love that because it was entertainment at the time. When these things were happening, we didn't have Netflix or TV or films. That was their Netflix to go out and to be entertained. And really the striptease element in it, I mean, there was, there's parts, obviously, France has got, and Paris has, quite a big history of burlesque as well, but that sort of striptease element kind of really came into fruition around the time of the Prohibition. So before then, I mean, burlesque, again, it was these sort of to mock, to parody, and these cabaret shows.
Wow. So then what, from where it was there in terms of mocking, parodying, and having a look at what the social ills are, what has it transported into now then? Has that art form continued? Is it the case that you still utilize that as an underground way to say, hey guys, think a bit more about what's happening out there? Or has it now gone into the more the artistic versions of how one moves their body?
Do you know, there's such a wide umbrella under the term burlesque, and it is, what I love about it is that anything goes. So it is entertainment, ultimately, that's what it is. But then some performers, they will use their acts to make a statement, to make maybe a political statement or a social statement about what's going on. I've seen, just last Friday, I was working with a performer, and she does an act that has a voiceover of Donald Trump when he said derogatory things about women, and then she goes into her act's called Government Hooker, and then she goes into this striptease performance of dressed like a secretary, like these 1940s secretary in the glasses and and then she obviously takes all that off, and she's goes down to the nipple pasties, and she's holding like this jeweled American flag up, and I loved that. And actually she'd said beforehand, oh, I don't know how this act's going to go, because I debuted it quite a few years ago, I don't really perform it, and just seeing it being performed again, and with everything that's going on in the world, you think, yeah, it's still, the message still stands, it's still relevant to the present day. So that is parts of what I love about burlesque as well. People can make a statement in a glamorous way, and still entertain people, but you can go away with that message.
That there's a subtle power in that, isn't there? Because obviously it showcases the audiences are willing and open to listen to that. What's it like on your side? What have you rediscovered about yourself through your career in burlesque? Because it's a very sensual art, and you're having a look at that, and especially at this time where you get this political correctness that's going on across the globe. It's women have been certain aspect. We've seen it happening in places like Iran recently as well. And
Yes.
then on the far other side, people are saying, well, there's certain things that you need to demonstrate that womanhood has to look a bit and feel a bit more like this. What's it like for you? What have you rediscovered?
I I love seeing all different shapes and sizes on stage, and the performers I get to work with, and these male performers who do burlesque as well. We call boylesque, but yeah, it's a great. Do you know what? There's some amazing performers. I've worked with some male performers. I am actually just going to do a quick shout out because there's a performer I worked with last year in Blackpool called Jake Dupree, and if you check out his work, he is incredible. His body is insane, but I saw them do backflips up the stairs of the Blackpool Tower Ballroom at the stage, and it was one of the most amazing acts I've ever seen. So check them out, because Jake Dupree, incredible performer. But yeah, so just seeing females perform on stage, and you are seeing all these different shapes and sizes, ages, ethnicities, and really in a time when, we all have social media, we see the power of things like Instagram, but people, and a lot of women are doing it, men too, filtering themselves. We all show our best selves on social media, but to the point when people are completely manipulating the bodies and the faces, and it's a false representation of what they are, and it makes, I think, a lot of other people, and especially the younger generation, feel really insecure because they can't achieve that standard of beauty that is a fake standard of beauty. So seeing burlesque, and you see all these different shapes and sizes, you see that people aren't necessarily this perfect size. They have bits that jiggle, that are supposed to, and yet they're owning it on stage. They're owning the body. They've got a confidence. They've got this sexuality, this sensuality, and I love when people come over to me at the end of a show, and even when they just say, I want to go home and I want to do a performance for my husband or my partner, and because they've had this confidence to then be able to do that. And that is what I love about it. For me, as well as a performer, I feel that you're owning that space when you're on stage. And again, in a time, when we've got, say, Roe versus Wade happening, and it feels like women and no longer have the ownership of their body, because people, with that happening, it's like you're taking away ownership of a woman's body. So on stage, it's a way of putting the middle finger up to say, no, this is my space. I'm owning this space. I'm confident, and I've got ownership of my body, and you can't take that away from me.
What's your biggest fear?
With burlesque?
Well, just in general, as you, because, essentially burlesque, if we get rid of the name burlesque, this is your expression to the world, right? It's your poetry to say, this is what I stand for. And more importantly, it kind of has a look at saying, this is how I view the world at this moment in time. Because it's not just about the dance form, it's a dance form that almost is used as a medium for that. So what's your biggest fear? Because you ultimately, as a human being on this planet, you chose to go down this line. The lines opened you up and exposed you more in terms of understanding what the whole human body does, sensuality, sexuality, things that almost society never want to talk about, but realistically kind of governs everything. I
think there's a few things, again, when we're going on about things being censored and taken away and stopping. I mean, for instance, there's strip clubs that are, losing the licenses, and strip, whether it's in a strip club or it is a cabaret, it's a form of these. And I think when you're kind of censoring them or stopping people from working, because strippers who are working in strip clubs, it is a safe space for them, as long as they're not being trafficked, or they're making a living from doing that, and that is their job and their income. And when you suddenly, and a lot of the time it is a safe space for performers, so when you're taking that away, or when you're stopping or closing strip clubs, then these performers, they don't have anywhere to work. So that's a little bit of a fear, I think, because if you suddenly start censoring the adult entertainment world, it can quite easily trickle down to the burlesque and cabaret world. And then also for me, I think just a personal fear, I just try and live in the moment as best as I can, because I think we only have so long on this planet. You know, the average lifespan of a person is sort of 80 years, 90 if we're lucky. So I just want to make sure that I'm living every second and every moment with, you know, people I care about, people I love, and also I'm getting to do what I love. And I'm really fortunate, especially after COVID as well, that I am able to still do this.
I know one thing that we spoke about before on the phone was the fact that you are owning your body, that when you're up on stage, you're emotionally naked as well as physically naked. It's a tough place to be because you get no other props at the end of it. What can we learn about the whole idea of sensuality then? Do you think as a society we should be more sensual, that we should understand the power of sexuality? Or do you think it's something that we constantly throw beneath the rugs as such?
I think it's just about owning that space. With burlesque, it's a strip tease. The words in the title, you know, it's a tease. And as we were speaking on the phone, if you are basically revealing everything in the first minute, you're gonna have to, you've got to do some. A burlesque performance is sort of the length of a song. So if you're revealing everything in the first minute, you've got maybe another 4 minutes on stage to really keep your audience entertained. Again, you know, Gypsy Rosie Lee, these stories about her just taking a whole song just to take off a single glove, and the audiences went wild. So, but again, when I spoke about performers who do reverse striptease. So they start off on stage, you know, the nude, or almost nude, and then they'll put the clothes back on. And again, I love that aspect of it because it's just something completely different. And
you thoroughly enjoy what you do. You can see, you get the bushy eyes, white hair, the whole, and it's obviously you. Is this home for you then? This whole idea, this feeling of what you are on stage, is that you?
Yeah, I mean, the stage has always felt like home to me, and I was never maybe one of them precocious kids who was, you know, performing in front of the parents. I was more shy in the background. If anything, my younger sister, she should have been on the stage because she was so much more entertaining. But I have such I think a passion for what I do, and if I didn't still have it, I know for a fact I wouldn't be doing it. But as well, the music that you can use, because with burlesque now, it's not necessarily, you know, these old school numbers. Really, you can use any type of music, and again, that's what I love when people turn something on. It's something unique with it. I've always had a huge, I think we all do in life, I think that music is a religion in a way, because they evoke so many memories. I can listen to a song from years ago and the feeling that I had then will come back. And I think it's the same. You can then take that onto the stage and bring that out into a performance.
I mean, because obviously everything that you're doing is very emotive, right? Because you have to tap into that emotion. Are you guided by your emotions then with the work that you do? Has it almost seeped into your very being of? Because it seems like you're almost this walking, talking artist, you know, the female incarnation of Rumi, but in a burlesque type of way.
I wish that is. Can I use? Oh my God, I want to use that.
No, I'm going to TM that. That is definitely owned.
I want to have that as a strapline. That's amazing. To be fair, my show on Friday, I got my compere. She's amazing. This drag queen called Vivian Lindsay, and she'd stepped in at the last minute because one of my performers who was supposed to host had COVID, but she called me the Barbara Windsor of burlesque. And I was like, what? And I actually shouted from the stairs. I was like, the mixed race Barbara Windsor of but there's me just going off on a tangent there, so I've completely forgotten the question. But no, I am very passionate about what I do, and it is, for me, I think for performances, I think you always have to give a little bit of your soul on stage. Again, I think with dance especially, you can learn the technique. I mean, I perform on my own, so it's fine. And again, it's something I really love about burlesque and cabaret. Say if you're a trained dancer, if you're in the ballet, obviously you have to do them steps. But with dance, it's all about feeling. You can be technically perfect in every single step that you do, and if you are not feeling that music, if you're not connected to it, the audience will get that and it'll just be a mediocre performance. So with burlesque and cabaret, you don't necessarily have to be the best trained classical dancer, but you have to have a connection with your audience. And for instance, the 2 shows that I produce, they're not in huge theatres. One's quite an iconic jazz club in Manchester called Matt and Fred's. Another one's the Richmond Tea Rooms, and it's just a really small, intimate venue. But you get up and close and personal with your audience. You can give them that eye contact. You can, and you share this experience with them. That being in big theatres is amazing, but you sometimes lose that with your audience.
It's raw, isn't it? It's raw and it's authentic, and there doesn't have to be any filter either.
No, there's no filter, and it's that kind of, it has got that voyeuristic appeal. You're creating a fantasy on stage, an illusion in a way for entertainment. And I think people love that. People love to be entertained. If you can go away and take something away from it, that's great, and it's a bonus. And it's what cabaret has always done. We're here to entertain people, and since the pandemic, I think people have really realized, they missed live entertainment. I missed it. I missed performing on stage, being backstage, and also being an audience member. So not that I ever didn't appreciate it before, but it really means a lot when I or even going to watch a theatre performance.
Do you know, it's so interesting because it gives you a very different version of the way that you see the world, right? Because it's saying you can see when things are authentic and you can smell it a mile away when it's almost fake, coerced, acted out. And so it kind of makes you think about the current politics of the world, right? Because you're starting to see it almost like a stage show. You realize that a lot of these, and I think that's what you're alluding to earlier, saying that the way that you look at the world, the way that you probe the social issues is because you realize this is a stage here, but there's a much bigger stage that most people put themselves on without even realizing. At least you've turned it into a corporate model, which is a good thing. And you're allowing people to really look at that.
Yeah, it's great. And I think as well, just with the history of it and how far it's come, and that it has been revived in a way, has been incredible. I remember when I was starting out and researching burlesque, it makes me sound really old, and it's no, but you would go on YouTube, there wouldn't be that much content. Now you have got Instagram, you've got TikTok, people are putting a lot more of their performances live and online. There wasn't really that, so to kind of research it, you didn't have that. You could find books and see certain performances, but there wasn't really as much content on it as there is now.
Do you know what? I could speak for the whole morning on our side. But if people want to find out more about your work, where do they go to?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, so it's Cherie Bebe. It's spelled CherieBebe. We've also got the show page, which is Cherie Bebe's Burlesque Review, and that is on Facebook. We're on Instagram, so I have my page dedicated to the show, so that features all the different performers that I work with. And then also I have my own page as well, so that's more kind of again, it has like my burlesque work, my acting work, modeling work that I do, and other bits and bobs. And then Twitter, Facebook, I'm on all of those.
Done.
And I have a website too. I always forget about that. I've got a website too.
You normally start with that shit right there.
I know.
You can go, but it's fine. Are you doing this whole reverse burlesque dance thing with me? Is that what it is? It's like you kind of going backwards with the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm starting with the ones. Yeah, find me on these ones, and then saving the best for last.
That's it. It's like Inception all over again. What a fantastic conversation. I'm sure you agree. There's so much more to this than just the rampant version of the mental imagery of sexuality. There's a case that came up in India recently with Ranveer Singh, where an FIR was put against him, suggesting that he hurt women's sentiment with the nude photos that he took. Now, it should be reported that it wasn't a full frontal nude in any type of sense, but it does give us a deeper indication of how we look at the human experience through sexuality. And something that is actually very natural for us, that is now becoming almost a slanting call for moral nature. I think this is a subject that we're going to take a deeper dive with. But as I continue my journeys in my current location, and they will all be revealed soon, I truly hope you enjoyed this podcast. And do me a favor, if you like this and if you like the work that we do, Check us out via social media and please share, because with your help we get to continue building the world's largest living encyclopedia of people just like us. Until next week, I hope all remains well.
Global Indian Network. Print, TV, events, podcasts. Find out more at globalindianseries.com.